Welcome back to the Collective Journey. Courtney and
Abe.
We're here. Why do you always do that? You have like the slowest delivery.
Because you're like, Courtney and I'm like, I guess this is where I say my name.
You would come up with some shit like that. What's up, you guys? It is Monday. Can you tell what kind of foot we're starting on? We like start with the antics right away. I definitely have had a Monday to where I feel like it just started off on the wrong foot and it's just been tumbling after like all day after this morning.
Are you talking about when you got peed on by your dog?
Yeah, our dog.
Well, when she does things like that, you know.
So we have a dog. Well, she's my dog. And now that we're a family, she's our dog. But whenever she does something wrong, Abe is like, that's your dog. I'm like, all right. I see what kind of step parent you are. And she peed on me this morning because she's old. And I was carrying her down the stairs as a good dog mom does because she's too old to go up and down the stairs. And she just pissed all over me. And
pushed on her bladder. What'd you expect?
I was not pushing on her bladder.
She's old.
Anyways.
She's falling apart.
Yeah. I mean, she's getting
pug.
old. She's a pug, in case you guys are wondering.
It's that dog off of Men in Black.
Yes.
Frank.
And now there's like all kinds of pugs out there. Like pugs are a big deal. Anyways, we're not even going to get into that. But it totally sucked. It really put a stench in my morning, and it has just been crazy ever since that. Have you guys ever had a Monday like that? Like where you're like, this shit just did not get off on the right foot, and I needed it to. So, are you ready to share your life story with us?
Yeah, I guess. I was ready. I don't know. Yeah, sure.
As ready as you're ever going to be? So tell us where you were born.
So I know I probably talk about Stockton a lot, and you hear me talk about Stockton, where I was raised. But actually, prior to that, I was born in like Burbank General Hospital. I lived in like North Hollywood, kind of LA area.
Fancy.
Yeah, for like a couple years of my life. I think it was like 1 or 2 or something like that. But I wasn't there long. Pretty much like I moved up, or my dad moved us up north to where my great grandmother was living, which is Stockton. Which, interesting enough, like my mom actually graduated from high school from Stockton, left right before they were going to give like mass amnesty to everybody, like Reagan or I think it was Reagan.
Yeah.
And she went back to Mexico because she was like, whatever. I'm not really feeling this. Like, this was cool. And I think she did like her senior year and stuff like that. And then went back to Mexico to live because, that's like her comfort zone. And she was just like, I'm just going to stay with my grandma and like go to high school there and then come back and just chill, So anyway, yeah. So I was born in LA and then moved up to Stockton.
And why did you guys move? Like, was your family from Burbank?
So I have family in LA, right? So that was like the place where we first settled. We actually ended up moving into like kind of like my great uncle. He just passed away recently, so rest in peace. But yeah, we ended up like moving with them, and like my dad pretty much like immigrated from Mexico to there. And for him, I guess he had a like pretty decent job in Mexico and stuff like that. But for him, it just wasn't comparable, the living like the U.S. to Mexico. It's not, So And I think in those times too, like late 80s, like Mexico was like in a lot of like economic turmoil and stuff like that. And like I think that's when like the inflation rate started. A little bit prior to that, they went into this huge thing economically. Like, so things weren't like good economically, pretty much. Yeah, my dad once told me, he was like, you'll see like educated people not doing their job, you know, like if they're, obviously it's an exaggeration, but like a lawyer selling newspapers on the corner, you know, that's as best as like he could put it. He was like, it's like that, you know, so it's competitive. Mexico City's ultra competitive, all that stuff. So he moved us up north to Stockton, and then to my great-grand, because, you know, they were like, there's better jobs up here, blah, blah. And like, if anybody knows Stockton, in those times, definitely in those times, it was not really built up. And even till today, like, not a lot of people really hear of Stockton. Probably only hear of Stockton because of like the negative things surrounding Stockton. You know, the Diaz brothers are from Stockton, and then like, I think the Cowboys just recently signed somebody from Stockton. Mayor Tubbs, he's from Stockton. So there's not a lot of like people out there really, really repping Stockton.
So your family came, your parents came, and it was like, we're coming to the States for the American dream. We're going to build a new life with our family. And that's why, you know, you were born in the States, and then you guys moved from one state to the next. And basically, they were starting over from scratch and learning everything, right?
From one country to the next. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Like, my parents came over here. I mean, my mom graduated high school, but her English was like limited, pretty much none. They started like nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I think in LA, my dad was like talking about like they pretty much just came with like the clothes on their backs. And then soon after that, my mom was pregnant, you know? And then soon after that, my dad was just like, I have no clue how to, you know, really what we need. I mean, imagine like starting up, you know, you really don't have any resources pretty much, right? Because you don't speak the language, you don't know anybody, you know, you're out of your social circle, you're in a complete different country, and you have like nothing, you know what I'm saying? So you're pretty much just like saving up to establish yourself in the country, and then saving up to buy a bunch of baby stuff, you know? So that's me.
And then what do you think? I always get curious when we talk about this.
Oh, let me add some context. I think my dad told me that he didn't have a car or a car seat, or he had a car seat and no car to pick me out of the hospital. Like, I think my mom, I guess, was giving in labor on the bus, and they got on the bus and they went to the hospital, and then when they got there, they're like, yeah, you're going to need a car to leave, you know? And my dad was like, dang, I need to borrow a car. Like, I'll buy a car seat, but I don't got a car, you know? So that's pretty much what they did. I think my mom was like they turned her away twice, I think. So like they hopped on the bus in labor, took the bus to the hospital, got off, and then I think they went back again because it wasn't time. And then they did it again, you know? So kind of crazy, you know. So they literally had nothing.
And how?
But, you know, also the whole car situation. I mean, they're from Mexico City, so it's like New York. So
they're used to public transportation.
Yeah, public transportation. They're you don't really need cars. You know what I'm saying? In Mexico City, so it's just like New York, like where some people will never have a driver's license or own a car. You know.
That's true. I'm glad you add that in there, because I feel like some people will listen and be like, oh my God, how terrible. But that's something to like make note of, that there are parts in the world where public transportation is so prevalent that having a car is very foreign. Could
and then you had to drive. It's just didn't happen.
Yeah. Could you imagine, like, have you ever like sat back and thought like, especially, I know we've mentioned it before, like with us becoming parents and like how overwhelmed we were with being overseas. But then we have, like, you just said they had no resources. Have you ever thought like how scared shitless is?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, sometimes I look at our life and I feel like almost following in like my father's footsteps, in the sense of like
Becoming a parent.
becoming a parent. I came over to Germany. It's a new country where, we're faced with all these like language barriers and challenges. You don't really have a lot of people to lean on. I mean, they had our family in LA, but that's as much as pretty much, I mean, you don't have a lot, you know what I'm saying? You don't have your parents, you don't have friends, family, and then you don't really know where everything's at, So you're really ignorant, and not in like, not a bad way. You just don't know a lot of like the things that are accessible to you. And that's how I feel like here, like we're finding resources, we're doing things to, to be in the know, to, to better our family and things of that nature. So it's like the same. I feel like it's like the same.
Have your parents ever told you like this is what it was really like? Like there were nights I didn't sleep because I didn't know how we were going to make it from A to Z, or have they always put on like what parents do? They put on a front and they're like, we held it down. We did what we did.
I don't know. I didn't really ever see my parents stressed. Because it's almost like, I think when you start from the bottom, you don't really have anything to lose. So, like, you're just, like, happy. You're just, like, along for the ride. You're like, we're making it this far. We're making it this far. Like, we're doing this. Like, we're here. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I never really saw my parents stress. My dad's told me, he'd be like, sometimes, things like that. Like, I didn't know how I was going to make it from like one paycheck to another, and I had all these things, but he was just like, my family's super flexible, and they're just like, hey, we'll figure it out. I think that's where I get a lot of like my hustler mindset, or like, if I'm ever encountered with the problem, I'm not like, I gotta wait or I gotta figure it out. I'm like, nope, let's find 3 different ways to do this. Like, let's find the way that, we can throw money at it. Let's find the cheap option. Let's find the way that, at least that's how I think, like what's the easy option? What's the best option? And what's the cheapest option, in terms of anything? And, what's the hardest, easiest, and most convenient? So that's how I look at everything. And I'm always like, I always try to have a plan of action for everything. That's why I don't know. I don't know if it's like, maybe that's some sort of like, I know we were talking about like what was it? Emotional trauma or something like that. I don't know if that's some sort of emotional trauma or thing that my parents passed on to me, what I'm saying, from maybe some sort of anxiety that they carried, but that's how I view things, like instantly get a problem, boom, like hit it with those 3 options. Even if I don't need it, I'll just be like, this. If it doesn't go through, then we have this. We have, this doesn't go through, we have this. And if not, we're going to be stressed, but we'll figure it out. And, we're just going to have to take things on the chin, pretty much. Like, that's how my dad was, always was just like, fuck it, just take it on the chin, so.
So you grew up in Stockton, and at any point in time, did your parents like pick up English right away or really well? What was the language barrier?
I mean,
like?
My parents still have an accent. My parents can read and write English. Mm-hmm. If you hear them, you're gonna be like, they definitely have an accent. Which I've met people, or my cousins and stuff like that, got here when they were of that age. They've lost their, you could still tell, but like their English or their accent has kind of gone away, So they still carry that with them. Sometimes grammatically, like things don't come out right. Like they like overthink it, So yeah, like for a while, my dad was saying like, when we were younger, he would say, he doesn't do it anymore, but he'd be like, don't, can't. And like he would use like double negatives, you know, like he didn't understand it, you know. So, but it was like odd because, you know, I had Spanish was my first language, and then I had to learn English alongside my parents pretty much, and then be correcting them as I got older. They would, you know, they hit you with the like, hey, translate this, you know, we need you to look at this. What does this say? What is that guy telling me? You know, shit like that. So.
What age did that start?
Young.
You started translating?
Young, yeah. I don't know. As far as I can remember, I've always been like the family translator of problems, of figuring out things for my family, technology-wise on the internet, reading things quickly, you know, looking over contracts, paperwork, shit like that. So.
And with picking up a skill like that, what do you think it's pushed you to develop as an adult?
I think, and now that you're asking me, I think like a super fast reader. Like.
You do skim through shit super fast.
Yeah, and that's how I look at everything, you know, when I do research and stuff like that. Like, even how I read books, I don't read books like normal people where like they read them like front to back. I'll like first pick it up, look at the book, you know, read the back, read the cover, whatever, right? Read the intro, some of the intro, right? And I'm like, whatever, boring. Then if it's like a knowledge book, like a how-to or like try to get research, I'll just like breeze through it. You know, I'll be like, like, oh, I need this, I need this. I want to learn this, Oh, I need to go back to learn this and for this. Okay, cool. Everything else I'll skip. And I'll be like, all right, I'll learn it. I'll learn the basic stuff that I need right now. And as I progress, I'll go back and reference things. Like I don't, even for like, I guess I read a lot of like philosophy, you know, like stoicism, like, you know, ideology, power of habit, things like that. And I'll just skim it and that's it. And I do that for everything.
I used to think that you did that because the way that your brain is wired, which is totally opposite of mine. But you're saying now that you do that because of the way that
I don't do it on
had
purpose.
To translate with your family, and that it was like a skill that you developed.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't think about it.
It wasn't like, oh, I was born this way. I've read books this way my entire life.
I think I have. I definitely have. So, and I remember our teachers would make us. My teacher would make, you know, we would read books. My parents would put me in things like book club at the library and stuff like that. And it was just, for me, it was just so boring to read it front to back. And I would, but I would just read super fast, you know. Even when I read really quickly because I need to be able to, you know, read, articulate really fast, because I guess maybe when I was a child, I would have
you
to
felt the pressure.
You know, not pressure. It's just, I would just be like, read this shit really quickly and spit it back out, you know, until the basis of whatever I needed it to.
Well, that is a level of pressure, whether you want to, you know, deny it or admit to it. Not necessarily in a negative way, but you're being held to a higher standard. There's a level of pressure and responsibility on you that other people may not have, due to, like, your situation's just a little bit different.
Even verbally, I think, like, when people tell me things, sometimes I'm like people from New York, where if you're telling it too slow, you're like, oh my fucking God, can you just tell me in short what you're trying to tell me, you know? And
like me trying to tell a story?
You're laughing because you're from Texas or whatever, and like,
everyone talks so slow.
And you don't speak that slow. And I don't know what our listeners might say. I can't vouch for them. But in comparison to your parents, when they speak, I'm like, damn, this is slow. You know, like, It's a very, not like slow, like dumb. It's just a very slow delivery.
Accent. It's a slow accent.
It's like a little bit of swagger with it. Anyway, so a little bit of flair.
That's called a Texas twang.
Yeah, I like it. Personally, I like how it sounds, so but as far as giving information, I'm like, hurry the fuck up. Because I would have to listen to people. And if they're taking too long, I'm literally having to listen to them and then shorten it up in my brain, translate it, and then spit it back out to my parents and be like, this guy's like, hey, went to the park, but this and that. And he's like telling me a story about what he wants to do or what he wants us to do, right? In short, I'm just going to be like, this guy wants us to, I don't know.
I hate it when people do that. You just don't give the full translation.
Yeah. Yeah, this is what he wants us to do. But we need to sign these papers right here. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I came, my parents are from Iowa and blah, blah, and, we settled down. And I'm like, okay, but what do we need to sign? And what do we sign?
Okay.
The small talk, pretty much.
So at what point were you, did you go to school with other kids who their parents had just come to the States? Or were you by yourself when it came to that? And you started making friends in school. At what point?
I had a couple friends. So, I went the elementary school that I was raised or whatever, right? Or ended up going was like in a nicer part of town, pretty much. What my parents did was when they first got to Stockton, my grandma, it was a nice house, but she lived in the hood, and she bought the house like long, long time ago, but the area around it ended up being the hood, a lot of like, it's like almost like the worst of the worst in Stockton pretty much lives around like these areas or whatever. I think they moved to an apartment to like almost like they have really old houses in Stockton where it's like a big house, and inside the big house there's a bunch of like little kind of studios, I don't know what you would call that, but that place was pretty much, it's called Southside Stockton, so South Stockton is like the hood, so like it's like I think we were just watching, which is interesting, the documentary about like Stockton on My Mind. It's on like HBO Max with like Mayor Tubbs. It's pretty interesting. Check it out. But on that thing, they're like talking about, really rough neighborhoods in Stockton and stuff like that. That's one of the places where my parents ended up, and they just kept bouncing around until they found like a decent place to live. Because the whole point was to get me to a better school, to give me a better education, to afford me more opportunities to be in the United States. So even if they had to kind of live in the lower end neighborhood of a nice community to get me to a good school, they were doing that. And that's pretty much what they did. So they ended up going to a pretty nice school in a nice community. Like the houses around the school were like beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Picturesque, Brady Bunch style fucking houses type shit, and everybody that went to this school was pretty well off. Everybody's parents were like a lawyer, doctor, an engineer, some sort of, or they came from had some sort of money. I think like we had this family of they had some twins, and their father was like a conductor for the Stockton Symphony, like shit like that, So, but here I am, just this Mexican kid in this like school of, pretty somewhat well off people, upper middle class people, and here I am, lower class. Yeah, so in short, I was one of very few Mexican kids or Mexican American kids in my elementary school.
So were you coming to school with Lunchables?
Was I coming? I wasn't on the, no. I was on the reduced lunch program. I had to eat that square pizza. I'd actually be jealous of the kids with Lunchables, You know, I'd be like, damn, I want a Lunchable, man. Mom never buys me Lunchables. I don't even know where to get Lunchables. Like, we shop at the little Mexican store. They don't sell fucking Lunchables there, you know?
Stop at the bodega and you're like, do you guys have Lunchables here?
I think one time my mom made me like a makeshift Lunchables. It was like I think I asked her for lunch to bring to school to put it in a brown paper bag. This is how different it was. And my mom was like, yeah, sure, for sure. I think she put a bunch of food, like a sandwich wrapped in napkins, you know what I'm saying? Like the whole Mexican thing. Put that thing in a big brown paper bag and was like, here. And
like a grocery shopping bag?
A grocery paper bag. And she didn't get it, you know?
Say
she saw
less.
nothing wrong with it. And I was like, no, I wanted like the small little brown bags. I think I even made my mom at one point buy me little brown bags.
Did you have a cool lunchbox?
I don't even know where, to this point, I don't even know where to get lunch bags like that. You know what I'm saying?
So what was it like growing up as you got older with in Stockton, and then you were it was your responsibility to make sure that you were translating everything for your parents and holding down that life.
It was busy. So pretty much like my mom was doing housekeeping, right, at the time. And she would go to like the gated community, like the nicest part of Stockton to do housekeeping, pretty much to clean houses. Eventually, you know, she started like, you know, developing, you know, relationships with like people and stuff like that. And like people that I know now as like family friends and things that after, you know, my mom stopped like cleaning houses or anything like that, you know, I would consider these people like people in my life. But if I wasn't, you know, going with her, my mom would ask and be like, hey, can I bring my son? And I would just like sit at random people's houses and like do homework. So if I wasn't doing that, and it was weird because, you know, you like don't want to touch anything, super strict. So you're just like at this table, like pretty much doing homework. And for my mom was like, good, I can keep an eye on you and like shouldn't be doing anything. Shouldn't be doing, you know, any crazy things or anything like that in this house. You should just be sitting there like a good boy, a good young man, and do your homework. And then, like I said, my parents always had me in some sort of program, you know, because we're in Stockton, you know, so they would have me in some sort of like, take me to the library for tutoring or like book clubs or different things. Like they'd pretty much like keep me at the library. And if I wasn't doing that, I was swimming, you know. So I swam pretty much like ever since I've been in kindergarten to...
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think I realized that.
Yeah. Whole life swimming, you know.
You started in kindergarten?
Yeah. Yeah. For like a swim team, there's a private university in Stockton. It's called like University of Pacific. And I swam for this like private university. It was nice. They had like an Olympic pool. They had like legit coaches, you know, that were like, you know, silver medalists or something like that in the Olympics and some sort of Olympics. And I would literally like go there and swim for like 2 hours nonstop. Something that I didn't really think about it. Like I would do my homework. I would change in the car. My mom would get out. And I would start swimming laps. And like the coach wasn't like, this wasn't like a freaking let's go blow bubbles in the water or something like that. Like this motherfucker would be like, you know, this like, I think he was like Russian. He'd be like, get in the pool, you know. And he'd be like, warm up with this, you know. And, you know, we'd go do this warm up, like, you know, 200 freestyle or something like that. Do that. And then he would like have us tread water, you know, nonstop with our like hands above our heads, and then swim a bunch of laps and then work on techniques on the stuff and then we would have to, you know, practice technique and then swim some more laps and then swim some more laps. And if we were good, we got to go on like a diving board. They had like a high rise, like, you know, those like crazy diving boards that people jump off of. If we got to do that, we got to go and jump off the low part of the diving board one time and then get your ass back to swimming, you know.
So, did you make any friends there?
No.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't that type of place.
Yeah?
It sounds crazy, but it's just like there was like no socializing. You get in the pool, and the people, everybody would be there like, hey, what's up? You know, you greet each other, and then it'd be like, all right, go. And then literally, I mean, you're off on your own, your head's underwater, and then you have to space yourself out from not, you know, pretty much swimming in a little line, holding down like 2 lanes. I don't know if you'd ever shared a lane with somebody, you know, but when you swim, lap swim, but pretty much you're not really interacting with them. This ain't a team sport. Like this is you. And we would do, the only time it'd be like a team sport is if we were doing a relay race. And the relay race would be like, you'd be in line, right? The person would jump in, they'd swim, they'd do their portion, and then they'd get out, and then I'd like jump in. So there was no like work as a team type concept. That sounds really bad, but yeah.
It just explains so much why you're so focused and disciplined and driven, all the things that you should be in life. But, okay, so at what point did you go to somebody's house as a kid and you were like, you know, you have Lunchables and Tostitas, pizza, or whatever those things are?
I would see it around. I just knew I was different, you know. I knew I was different from like the Lunchables thing, you know. And the thing, you know, certain families have like pizza night, you know. And like kids would be like, hey, it's pizza night. We're going to order pizza and we're going to eat pizza. We didn't have pizza night. You know what I'm saying? We had like caldo night. Like, you know, we'd have like soup on a hot summer day.
Albondigas.
shit like that, you know. And I would just get so fed up with it. And I'd be like, man, we can't just have pizza one time. Like, order pizza.
Would you ever get lectured?
Huh?
Would you ever get lectured like, me and your dad came all the way over here and you're asking for fucking pizza?
No, not like that. But my mom would like pretty much be like, you see those kids, they're so fucked up, but parents don't care about them.
That is going to be me.
Parents don't care about them. They're just eating junk, all that
true.
stuff.
Okay,
No.
So you already knew that you were different. And what it, like, Abe at this age, like, what did he want to be when he grew up?
I think one time, it was in preschool, pretty much. Like, we had to do, you ever do like those trace outs of your body?
No, but
like
go on.
You put butcher paper down, right? You trace your body and then you decorate that person. However, right? This certain thing in preschool, I don't even know why I remember this, but the certain thing I in preschool, they were like, yeah, make whatever you want to be when you grow up. And I was like, you could do that? You know? Like, I was in preschool, so I was just like, you know, you could, like, be something. Like, I didn't even know you could be an adult. Like, I had never put that much thought into, like, life up until that point. Everybody was just, like, I don't know, maybe, like, preconditioned to, you know, say that just, I want to be a police officer, fireman, you know?
That's what American parents teach their kids.
Yeah, and I was just like, I don't fucking know. And they were like, what do you want to be? And I was like, you know, no, I'm going to be a police officer. And I was like, okay, you know. And even soon after that, you know, like even going to school, people would be like, what do you want to be? Like, I don't know. An astronaut and all these things. And I'd just be like, I remember one time this kid was like, I want to be a mechanic. And I was like, I just copied him. I was like, I want to be a mechanic also, you know? And I was like, I don't even know, you know? And I think I was telling my parents one time, you know, like, what do I want to be? And I was like, I wanted to be a mechanic. And my dad was like, mechanic? You know, it's like, you know, one of those super strict parents, like, why not a doctor? Why not a lawyer? You know, and it was just like, I didn't even know you could do that. You know, like, I'm not even thinking like that, you know.
What did your parents want you to be, though?
I don't know, like a engineer or a lawyer or a doctor, you know. I don't know, something like very established, a profession, you know, like something that requires a very high level of education.
When did you quit swimming?
Going into high school, pretty much. Like, I think I did it for a little bit in high school. And the school that I went to didn't have a pool. And we had to, like, bus to another location. And I was just like, fuck it. I'm not feeling it.
You were done.
Yeah.
Were you burned out?
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. I mean, like, we're not, like I said, it was, like, super strict. So when I get into high school, they're like, yeah, get on the swim team. And I was like, yeah, fucking, I can make the swim team. Easy, But I was just like, nah, can't do it. I was just so, like, mentally drained by the time, my sophomore year rolled around or something like that. And I was just like, fuck this. That's it.
What were you like in high school?
I was pretty quiet. I mean, I still am. I was,
That's a lie.
Introvert, super introverted. Freshman year, super short, everybody in my family thought I was going to be like 5'5", 5'6", something like that,
Okay.
So sophomore year hit, I grew. That's about it, And then maybe my junior and senior year was like I was a little bit more rebellious, I guess.
Entering high school and you were super short, how did that affect you going into high school?
Dude, I felt like I was a kid, dude. I would look around and I'd be like, I look like I'm in fucking 6th grade, Like, you ever see those memes of people? It's like what I look like in high school, and it's like a little kid, and it's like what high schoolers now, and it's like this fucking yoked 6'4", like football player, dude. That was me. You know what I'm saying? I was like the 5'5" skinny, scrawny kid. So yeah, I felt like I would look around and I'd be like, everybody's like fucking like 6 foot tall. Like, what the fuck is this shit? You know what I'm saying? I look like I'm in goddamn 6th grade, So that was me.
So you're quiet. Like, were you in anything in high school? Like where could you find Abe Farias? Like, what group was he in? Was he a jock? Was he a nerd? Was he playing War of Warcraft? Was he
nothing like that.
At the football games?
Nah, didn't go to the football games. Football wasn't really like a big thing in my high school. Our football team sucked. That's probably why. So
yeah, I mean, so does the rest of your state, but
whoa.
Oh.
Okay.
But
Right.
yeah, like where were you? Like what group were you in? Did you have a lot of different friends? Did you have no friends?
Actually, my freshman year, I was like a huge loner. So I had like transition like school districts and stuff like that. And yeah, I was like a big loner. Like I would just kind of be by myself because I didn't really know anybody. I was like trying to meet people and like going into high school, you're like looking around. People are like already clicked up. You're like, what the fuck? They're like, obviously people that they have known their whole life, like their set group of friends. And then now you're in high school and you're just like, they were just, like in their little groups. And I was just like this brand new kid, and
So you had to start from scratch in high school?
Yeah. And well, I don't know how it is in Texas, but I mean, our class sizes in Stockton are somewhat bigger. These are bigger high schools and stuff like that. So
how many kids were in your graduating class?
I don't know, a lot, enough to where I was just like, holy fuck, like I've been sitting here for hours and they're not going to call my name, like,
damn,
or not hours, but like a good, they're running through names and they're just like waiting.
Okay,
there
here, let me put some,
there.
give you some perspective. My graduating class was about 150.
That's small.
I started with, I think we had like 300. They told us when I started high school, we were like the biggest freshman class they had ever had.
Wow.
So there's some perspective.
I think we definitely had more than 150 people.
In your class?
We had like, like different periods, 2 lunches to accommodate all the people in our high school, things of that nature. When you had to get to a class, one, I didn't know that like high schools in Texas, the classes are inside.
They are.
So
even I always have this conversation when we watch a movie.
The classes in the high school in California, everything's like spread apart. Like you gotta book it. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta make your class. You know, your class could be on the other side of like campus. You gotta get there. So it's like that. You know, so it's busy. You know, and you just see like all the hustle and bustle and people walking, you know, to their different classes. Yeah. So I was loser in freshman year, probably sophomore year too. But yeah.
Were you? But you weren't outgoing.
Yeah.
Because I would have walked in there and been like, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah.
Anybody, somebody.
It's quiet.
You're just quiet.
Yeah, quiet.
You could care less.
Yeah,
and
pretty
then,
much.
I mean, so
That's gonna sound bad, but yeah, pretty much.
When you got, I mean, I see it now, and it's just like your life is. You just grew up very differently. Like you had different priorities. Not that it's a bad thing, because you're a very
today, you know,
focused person.
I guess I don't know. I enjoy alone time. You know, I guess like introverts get a lot of their energy from being around people and stuff like that, or interacting with people. That to me sometimes is like super draining. Like I like being around people. It's just I don't like being the focus of the conversation. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I just like to watch, I guess. That sounds dirty, but
Go on.
no, that's weird. Anyway, so yeah, so that's pretty much.
So when did you start developing more of your personality? Like the Abe that I know today, who's like super into art and hip hop.
That was like elementary school. I've always really liked art, stuff like that. You know, like even in high school, I was a part of like, you know, like a graffiti club or a 4 Elements club. We had some really weird clubs in my high school, but like for, you know, breakdance, graffiti, freestyle, tag, you know, I do all that. And then even in high school, I would like tag and stuff like that. So
tell us a good story from high school.
I don't know.
You don't have any?
I don't got any good in it. I don't know. Teaching class.
Won't get you in trouble.
Yeah.
Nothing? Not like me and my friends, or like one time I cut class.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But, I mean, that's high school, right?
Okay. So you cut class?
Yeah.
A lot?
Nah. Average, right? Like most high schoolers.
And
It's just part of life, right? You got to cut class, go
did
get
your
some
parents
lunch,
ever find
shit
out?
like that, right? No. Yes. Oh, I did get suspended one time for getting saucy and like, what is it? It's like home ec class. Got suspended for that. My parents were very disappointed in me.
That was it? They were just disappointed?
Oh, no, I got my ass beat, dude. You know,
Okay.
I was on lockdown, couldn't go to any parties, nothing. You know what I'm saying? That was not happening. So that was bad. I guess that's a story from high school. I don't know.
There you go. And then, so at what point, so you were prepping all the way through high school. You've told us before, right? For college.
Yeah, I was actually like a part of some program. It was called like Avid. And it was like the whole class was centered around pretty much like having a high school counselor and, you know, writing essays and doing that whole like song and dance to get into college, visiting colleges and prepping for college, prepping for the SAT prep, and like learning how to write effective essays to get into college. It was a whole thing. And then your whole class, you started off with the whole class of people a whole class of people that pretty much have to, their whole focus is getting into college. And you have like the same period every day and stuff like that. None of which these people I really keep in contact. Very few. Maybe like 1 or 2.
Really?
Yeah, I don't even keep in contact with that many people in high school, honestly.
And then
Very few.
You go to
if I do keep in contact with you, it's pretty much because I fuck with you. But other than that, no.
So you go to college, you graduate, and you go to college, and what happened?
Oh man, I'm not gonna specify the details of my college experience, but pretty much, what was it? Still,
What were you going to college for?
I don't know.
You don't even know.
I don't know, dude. I just did it because, this is something that you have to do.
I mean, was that appeasing to your parents? Were they like,
hell yeah.
oh, he's in college? Like, they didn't care where, they didn't care what you were going for. They just wanted you.
I think they were really. So I ended up. I didn't want to go to. I ended up going to community college, right? Because trying to save money, all that stuff, build up to my degree, to get into it's a cheaper option, all that shit. And but I didn't even know what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, go to college, appease my parents. They're like, okay, he's in college, cool, whatever. The whole time I'm fucking off. My cousins are going to that same college at the same time. We're fucking off, super off track, super undisciplined. I think I was trying to psychology, right? I was going to school for psychology. I found it interesting, all that stuff.
That's
child
interesting.
Development, all that, all these different things or whatever, right? But yeah, I just did it because it was the thing to do, right?
What was?
To go to college, right?
Just to go to college
after, because trade schools, none of that shit. Looked into joining the union, different trade schools. My parents were like, no, you need to go to college. So I was like, holy shit, dude. All right, whatever. I was trying to go to art school. My parents shot that down. I wanted to go to art school in San Francisco, and my parents were like, absolutely not. Looking back on it, I think should have fucking done it. But I think I told my dad one time I wanted to be an artist, and he was like, an artist? It was just like, an artist, they don't make any money. Blah, blah, blah. Like, I want to go to school for graphic design. Like, that.
Who do you think you would have been if you would have went to school for graphic design?
I don't know, man. That's scary. That's a scary thought. Definitely not the Abe that you see today. Probably like living in San Francisco, paycheck to paycheck, trying to make rent in San Francisco. Maybe if I was lucky, maybe
living out of a van.
Yeah, van. I'm like scraggly. I don't know. Maybe I have dreads. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm wearing like a poncho shirt, wearing Toms, maybe barefoot. I don't even wear shoes at all, probably,
I like this, Abe. So, did it ever cross your mind, like, I need to get out of Stockton?
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
Like, any travel aspirations?
That was always on my mind. Because my dad was pretty much raised, I think he left home when he was like 13, 14 years old. He went to go like travel Mexico with his friends, and then he left home and was doing his own thing, and like that was his life, right? So to me, I grew up on my stories from my dad. He was like, we went to this part of Mexico, this part of the country, like he always like romanticized traveling and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I need to go on an adventure, do something with my life. I'm just here, so.
And what was preventing you from just leaving?
Money, Courtney.
Oh,
like.
I mean, I don't know. You could have packed up and
I graduated when I was 17, so like.
You graduated when you were 17?
Yeah, so I was like super young. I turned 18 the year I got out of. I think I was in college when I turned 18.
Okay, keep going.
So I was fucking off for that long. Anyway, so.
Yeah, that's a long time to just be doing a whole lot of nothing.
I ended up joining the military when I was like.
20?
Enrolled 19, ended up joining, or I think I was like 20 joining the military, or I think I
met you when you were 20.
Yeah, I was 19 going through basic and stuff like that. So for those 2 years, I was kind of fucking off the whole time. So, yeah.
I always thought you were older when you joined. I don't know why.
I don't know. Because I've lived life, Courtney. No, I'm just kidding.
Really,
so
tell us more. Keep going. So you.
Anyway, yeah. So I wanted to get out of Stockton, and I was like, you're seeing the situation, the housing crisis go on. My friends, go through crazy ass stuff like joining gangs, things of that nature, get arrested. you start going to parties, people start offering you meth. You're like, whoa, this is getting crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is probably not where I need to be with or interact with. So yeah, like these types of things are happening. I'm running like at the time in a graffiti crew. We're doing graffiti around Stockton, shit like that. Nothing crazy big. I wasn't on like some Obey net, Shepherd Ferry, Neck Face type, Cope One. Like these are like huge graffiti artists.
They're amateurs, what you're saying?
I guess, yeah. I think the graffiti crew that I used to run with is like now big in that area. You know what I'm saying? But like, it's like local celebrity type status. Like nobody gives a fuck about that shit. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. Like crazy things are happening. I'm part of this graffiti crew. Things with them are like getting more and more violent. Like starting fights with other graffiti crews, things like that. Getting arrested. Got arrested. Got hit with like mass amounts of fines. Parents are upset. I'm going into college with this, and I'm going through all these like rehabilitative classes for bad kids. And they're figuring out if they're gonna try me as like a minor, an adult. Ended up getting tried as a minor.
Wait, tell us what it was like getting arrested.
I don't know. You get put in the back of a cop car. Actually, that's a story. Interesting enough. So that was like my first time I ever got like fucking hemmed up like that. And writing graffiti. I was with my other cousin. We like left a family party to go fucking tag in the middle of the night. Right? I was there. Adults off doing Mexican stuff, dancing, shit like that. Drinking beer. I don't know. Like typical Mexican party. And we're off. We're like off like pretty much the main street of Stockton. Cop pulls up and this motherfucker's like, freeze, and he like pulls out a gun instantly, like with a flashlight over it. And I'm like, god damn. And I was like, is that a stun gun? Is that a real gun? You're looking at the flashlight, you're just like, what do I do? First response, like for a graffiti artist, is fucking run. So you want to book it. And I was just like, whew, I don't know if I want to do that. Might have to take this one on the chin. You know what I'm saying? Like, do the crime, got to do the time. So I'm like, either get shot or get tackled. This motherfucker's close. And I don't know if he has a dog in the car, as he caught me shining the flashlight. And he's like, freeze, put your hands up. And I'm like, fuck, what do I do? Like, freeze, put my hands up. I don't know, and he's like, freeze, come to me. And I'm like, ooh, that's not smart. I seen fucking videos of motherfuckers get shot like this, you know what I'm saying? So like, I just stay there, and the cop's like, fucking come here, I don't even gotta tell my dog twice, get your ass out here. So I'm like very slowly walking towards him, enough to where he has to approach me. So once he approaches me, he's like pointing at my cousin. He's like, get on the floor, palms up. He grabs me, instantly puts me in a chokehold, spreads my legs or whatever, right? Starts bending my back. Pretty much like, now military training, you're pretty much immobilizing me, right? Like I can't fucking do anything or go anywhere. If I try to run, it's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of like non-verbal signals for me to get out of this posture. So, but I'm like getting fucked up, and he's like, I should take you in this alley and beat your ass for 15 minutes. Like, he's saying all sorts of fucking crazy shit to me, and throws me in the back of the cop car. I'm like cuffed, and he's like, fucking tag back there, I'll beat your ass right there in that fucking alley. And I'm like, oh god damn. Like, I'm scared. I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm looking at my cousin just to make sure he doesn't get his fucking face kicked in from being on the ground or something like that, or anything fucking crazy happens to him. And mind you, I'm cuffed. So he's like yelling at me about like tagging in the back of the cop car or something like that. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I'm already cuffed. Like, what do you want me to do? So anyway, they ended up bringing us home. They didn't like book us or anything like that, because we were minors. So they had to bring us home and, give me a citation, give it to my parents at the family party, you know, and everybody's like, fuck ups, you know, and I'm like, damn, this is embarrassing. So yeah, super embarrassing. And then I had to go, yeah. and then my parents were just so disappointed. And then I had to fucking do all this. This is like a turning point also in my life, I think, to try to get out of Stockton. Was I was in this class with other kids that had like done big fucking crimes, like killed people, or that's excessive, but like money laundering. Money laundering was one of them. Other one was like gang banging, violence, fights, shit like that. Shit that you see on Scared Straight, you know what I'm saying? They're like, what are you here for? Like, fighting, you know, shit like that. So, but one of them like was this 13-year-old kid, and I'll remember it like it's super vivid. Everybody's like talking about why they're there and all this stuff. It's like a decision-making class mixed in with like a drug abuse class mixed in with like a rehab class. And pretty much if I did these classes, they would expunge, or they would take off the records off my, take that record off my, maybe when I was a minor or something like that. So maybe when I turned 18, I don't even know if it's on my record. I mean, I got a clearance. So, when I turned 18, it wouldn't be there. But this kid was like, my grandfather's a gangbanger, my daddy and mom's a gangbanger, and I'm a gangbanger too. And I was just like, this kid was like 13, and he was like he was about it. Like he would have, you could tell this motherfucker would kill somebody, you know? And I was just like, this kid's 13 years old, man. Where the fuck am I growing? You know, where the fuck did I grow up? Like, these kids are, you know, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18 years old, whatever, right? If they got tried as you know, money laundering, this, you know, federal charges these kids are facing and shit like that. Not money laundering, money counterfeiting. This kid was pretty much printing dollar bills on, they would like wash dollars and then print. It was just kind of, now I'm like, this kid was like fucking 16. He would wash dollar bills and like reprint them as like $100 bills, shit like that. So he was like facing some serious shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, that kid probably got locked up for life or did some crazy shit like that. I don't know what ended up happening to him, but young kids, you know what I'm saying? Like, no older than me. And their path of life was just so fucking self-destructive. And I was just like, I'm not one of these kids. Like, there's no way that I'm one of these kids. My parents would always, like, you know, in my life, if I got a C, I mean, I was doing some bad shit, but my grades were always pretty decent, you know? So if I got a C, you know, I was grounded. My parents were giving me talk. This isn't why, you know, we sacrificed so much. We came to this country for you, for a better life, and you're just pissing it all away, you know? Like, it was like quarterly, you know, if I got a C in any subject, you know? And I was just like, oh, fuck. I think I failed a class one time. Ooh. That was like the end all be all for my parents. I think it was like freshman year, you know what I'm saying? And I was just like, fuck, you know, felt like a fuck up. Obviously, that didn't happen after that, but it didn't help that my godmother was, she was like a high school counselor there too, so she would always like check my grades and shit like that, and be kind of looking and seeing what I was doing and reporting back to my mom and shit like that. So, yeah, so I was just like, this isn't for me. This is not for me. Like, I got to get the fuck out of here. Like, I'm around too many bad fucking people. It was just so easy to like do bad shit, you know? Like, you're in the wrong crew, you're gonna get fucking. And I like feared going to prison. I used to think like, I'm gonna be with this motherfucker right here. He'll do some dumb shit, shoot somebody, something like that, and I'm gonna get fucking hemmed up with this dude. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You know, it was like very common to go to a party and somebody has a gun. Like, you have to leave the party, not because of cops, because motherfuckers start shooting at the party. You know, that type of shit, you know? So, yeah.
So that was the straw that broke the camel's back? Or did that put it in place?
It was like, set it in motion. So I did get serious after that. But once I started fucking off in college and stuff like that, and I was just like, what am I doing here? I'm just like super undisciplined. I'm just trying to get a degree to appease my parents, you know what I'm saying? Because they want me to get a degree, and like it's not a bad idea to do something like that, but I was like, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm sure most people in college, you know, have that feeling. I don't know what I'm gonna do with my career. I don't know what I want to do. I'm just getting my general education first, you know, going to college, maybe figure it out as I go along. Like, everybody's lost. And some people fucking have it, because I looked at kids and I was just like, other kids, and, you know, there's people kind of have, like, they got a fucking path, whether it's like their parents or their path, like they're moving. That was not me at 17, 18 years old. I was like, I don't know what to do, you know.
And you weren't scared to leave home? Like, leave your family behind?
That's all I wanted. It's all I ever wanted. All I ever wanted, you know. The only reason I couldn't do it is because of money. I think I made like a promise to my cousin that, like, oh, when we get out, we're going to make it. We're going to get our own place, and we're going to come up. We're going to make it together. You know, like, we're going to rent a house. We'll fucking move out of this place, this shithole. Left him behind, but I was like, I got to fuck out of here. He ended up getting out too, but yeah.
Well, I always say,
later in life.
And I know a lot of people don't agree with this, but sometimes, like, my number one thing in life that I always tell without apology is, you know, the people that you start with aren't always the people that you're going to finish with. And sometimes, you know, if you can't take everybody with you and you can only take yourself, like, you got to save yourself. Like, always put yourself first, you know, like, save yourself. I mean, and everybody just...
What do you say? Not everybody...
I say...
You say it, and then, like, somebody else says it too. One of my mentors said it too.
Not everybody that you start with, you're going to finish with. Like, sometimes if the door's only open for you, I don't care how selfish it sounds, like, you got to go. And you can't look back. Like, you got to keep moving forward.
Yeah, not every opportunity is afforded to everybody. You know what I'm saying? And if you wait till everybody gets that opportunity, you might squander your opportunity.
For sure.
So, yeah. I try to tell my sister that, honestly. I'm like, you got to fucking go. You can't be doing what all your friends are doing. You got to make a move. You got to make a jump, you know, because you're going to look around and you're going to be like, everybody went off and did their own fucking thing in career, and your stupid ass is still here, you know?
Well, I think you should always be doing what you want to do. That's why I asked you earlier, like, was it you that wanted to go to college, like, or were you checking the box off?
I was checking the box.
Like, were you appeasing your parents? Like,
I wanted to go to college, right? I wanted to pursue some sort of path of higher education. I just mentally, I wasn't mature enough to go to college. And it's as stupid as it may sound, I just wasn't mature enough to live my own life. Like, you know, college, you have a lot of freedom, pretty much pick your own classes, do what you want. You know, if you go to school, if you go to college, you go to college. Nobody's going to be checking on if you're at class or not. And for me, you know, I had my godmother, she was like one of the high school counselors. And then my mom was always very heavily involved in my life and, like, what are his grades, that type of shit. So when I got to college, I was off on my own. Like, I definitely took advantage of that and fucked off. So took, like, music theory, art, like, all these fucking classes that probably don't correlate with, like, trying to get a college degree. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was all electives. It was all electives. And, like one English class.
Classes?
Yeah, like one English, two core classes, all electives.
That would have been me. I love when you tell your story of getting arrested, because when we see the Abe that grew up in Stockton is different than the Abe that I met which now I refer to when we were kids, because I feel like that's what we were. Mm-hmm. And I will never forget the day you told me that that story, and I busted out laughing because you guys, like, the Abe that I knew back in the day is different than the Abe that I know today, and he was very quiet and reserved, and
I still am, I think. Definitely.
but just there wasn't like another side that I saw of you, like just always quiet and reserved, and you never talked about anything where you ever stepped out of line. So I didn't know that there was like this person that you were before you joined the military, and B, this whole other side of you that's, within you that you just weren't, like, that you weren't, whatever the word is, that you weren't at the moment. And I'll just never forget you telling me that story. I didn't believe you because also, like, Abe likes to tell me stories. He likes to pull my leg a lot. And so
They're gullible.
Yeah. Okay, whatever. And you tell tall stories. I am gullible, but you also tell tall stories. But I was just like, this is one of Abe's stories. Like, this, Abe would never do this. I remember looking and being like, whatever. Yeah. And then it was funny going home because I was like, damn, like, talking to your family and stuff, I'm like, whatever. Like, you guys, we know a different Abe. Like, I just need you to accept that. Like, the Abe you know is different than the Abe I know. And
I think because once I joined the Air Force, I was trying to, like, get my life on track. Pretty much, right? So I was just like, can't be talking about all the fuck shit that I used to do. Like, these people are refined. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm like, okay.
But they weren't.
Yeah, I'm like, at what point were we ever hanging out that anything we were doing was refined? But, okay, so what happened after what you were in college for? Did you even get any credits?
You know what? My grades, I think, were all like C's and D's or something like that. They say C's to get degrees, right? C's. But I was just so embarrassed at that time that I just, I don't think I ever paid my tuition either. I was just like, fuck it, leave it, join the Air Force. And they were like, you can get credit for the college that you've gone for your transcripts. And I was just like, nah, leave it. That's it.
But you came in with stripes, so you did get.
Well, I signed up for a 6-year degree. Or not a 6-year contract, I mean.
So you didn't come in with the airman stripe? Because I thought you did.
Yeah, I did. Like, once I got to my first base, I had stripes because I signed up for a 6-year contract. Not like you. You signed up for a 4-year, and you were at the bottom of the barrel.
All right, it's not about me today. This is all about you. And so so how did you find out about joining the Air Force?
I don't know, research, things like that. I would, recruiters always came by and all
by
that
your
stuff.
house?
No, like at your high school, they're always there. But I just figured out that was like a good avenue to join the Air Force. Like as I do with everything, I researched extensively, like forums, things like that. Went on the website, looked at all the jobs.
But it was always the Air Force. It was never like Army, Navy, Marines.
I did want to join the Marines. And then I had friends and stuff like that had like been in the Marines, or cousins that were like in the Marines or something like that, and or Army and things of that nature. And they're always like, if you're going to join any branch, you need to join the Air Force. Like, you have to do it,
What did your parents say?
They thought everything that everybody else thinks. Like, you're going to go away, you're going to fight wars, they're going to stick a gun in your hand, you're going to do all this crazy stuff. You're going to come back with PTSD, all fucked up, hyper-aggressive, like all these, like, crazy... I wouldn't say crazy, because there's a lot of people at that time, when the war was kicking off, you saw a lot of, like... a lot of people come back with a lot of mental illnesses. Even, things were different back then, like they were fighting. It's just crazy, So most of these came from like the Army. Obviously, there's people in the Air Force that if they're in some sort of combat or, mortared or things like that, even if you weren't like going on that or going on convoys and stuff like that. A lot of people did. You know, they ended up with stuff wrong with them, you know, because that was a crazy time, a really high point in the war. But I was kind of joining when like all that stuff was like gearing down, and the Air Force like played a very minimal role in like being in the front lines, if any. They don't, you know, you're kind of not at the front lines, you're not doing convoys, you know, you're on base. If you're deployed, you're at like some sort of secure base that is manned with all sorts of things. You're not at like a small little like tent city like in the middle of nowhere where there's not a lot of support. So yeah.
And what did the recruiter say? So when you went to the recruiter office, were you by yourself? Did your parents come with you?
Yeah, I went by myself. I actually couldn't track this dude down. I would like call him, and like most Air Force recruiters, I think like everybody has a story. Like I tried to join, but the recruiter wouldn't like call me or something like that, or you know, he just kind of blew me off, or my scores weren't high enough. Anyway, I would call nonstop. Finally, I called, and this guy was like, "You got time? Come in." So I went, and I was like, "Oh, I want to join. Like, what can you offer me?" And instantly the guy was like, no, motherfucker, this isn't how this works. Like, we're not, you know, the Army will like offer you bonuses and the dream job of your choice and things of that nature. And he was like, nah, motherfucker, like, this ain't how that works. You know, like, what do you want to know? First off, like, can you even get in the Air Force? Do you meet our requirements? Can you get a high enough score on the ASVAB? Things of that nature. And I remember my friends, like in high school, I would like mention joining the Air Force or something like that, and they would be like, you're insane. Like, you're not smart enough to join the Air Force. Which
your friends told you weren't smart enough?
Yeah. I was pretty dumb.
Wow.
So is that a sarcastic wow or what?
Like, what kind of fucking friends are those?
I don't know, dude. So
like, you're the smartest friend I have.
You know, they're just impossible. So I was just like, okay, whatever. So, that he started asking me, like, you know, you can't join, you know, and can you even score high enough on the ASVAB, shit like that, you know? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, do you want to join? Yes or no? Like, I'm just trying to deal with like recruits that are really, I mean, maybe it could have been a sales tactic, but it's just like, I'm trying to deal with like people that already want to join. I'm not. Whenever you want to join, give me a call and come back. You know, like I'm not here to sway your opinion or something like that. I think that's what he told me. He was just like, so figure your life out and then come back. Which another recruiter would like coax you into joining, right? With like incentives or something like that, like an Army or Marine recruiter. Because I went to go see them too, and like same thing. You know,
Oh, you went to see a Marine recruiter?
Marine, Army, all that shit. I tried all of them all. Just to see, yeah. And, you know, same thing. Bonuses, this, that nature. They would tell me not to join the Air Force. You're like, oh, don't join them. Join me. Offer you a $30,000 bonus. Blah, blah, you know, all this shit. So, and I was just like, this sounds phony. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know about this. So, pretty much, he just kind of told me to fuck off. In lack of better words. So, I was like, oh, okay. And I thought about it. I left and I was like, oh, he was like, but I can give you information. So what do you want to know? And I was like, well, and I had done a bunch of research. I kind of already knew. And I was like, well, what jobs can you offer? He just handed me a paper and he was like, these jobs. And he was like, and I can get any job. And he was like, no, just whatever we have available. It was very like nonchalant. It was just like, oh, okay.
Like, he really could care less.
Yeah, he didn't give a fuck, you know? Because he had a stack of people trying to join, you know? I think when there was like a kid that came in while I was in the office. And he was like, I think overweight. And he was just like, kind of same thing. Like in short of words, he just kind of told him like, come back.
Wow.
Yeah. Like he didn't tell him like, you don't meet our weight requirements. But like, he just kind of like wasn't very helpful. He was kind of looked at him and was just like, he's overweight. You know, can't help this kid. So, he wasn't a dick or anything, you know. He was just, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, you know. So I'm like, what is basic training like? And I already had seen a bunch of videos, and I knew exactly what it was, and like researched it. And he was like, yeah, it's this course, 8 weeks long, blah blah blah. And then you go to tech school. And I was like, where can I go? And he was like, anywhere. I was like, all these places. He's just like handing me like little pamphlets and shit like that, you know, all these places. And he had like a thing on the board, and he was like, all these places right here. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, where have you been? And he was like, California. I think he had only been like to California, I think, at that time. California, and then he started recruiting. So, which we were in California. He was like from Hawaii, and then he got stationed in like Vandenberg or something like that, right? And I was like, okay, whatever. So I leave, come back, and I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, this kind of fucked my world up, you know? Like, what the hell?
Do you think you needed that?
Yeah. I needed to pretty much be really, really like have my mind completely made up if I wanted to do this. You know what I'm saying? So I thought about it, researched some more. I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. So I hit him up, went and asked for my calls again. You know what I'm saying? Like recruiters are busy. And finally he was like, all right. I went in and I was like, I want to join. And I think he asked me to bring my parents too. You know, like, are your parents on board? All this stuff, you know, because a lot of people, you know, like you might be on board, but your parents might talk you out of it last minute. So, brought my parents. My parents had some questions. They wanted to talk to him, and then they were just like, "Are you comfortable?" You know, he's just asking, "Are you comfortable with him joining?" Blah blah. What do you think about this and all this stuff?
They both showed up in his office.
So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I forget. I know my parents, somebody showed up. I think my dad showed up.
So.
And my dad was like, yeah, this guy seems like genuine, blah, blah, blah. And I think he told my dad, like, you see, you know, like I have a stack of applications. Like, you're one of many, you know, and it could take you a year up to 6 months to join. Like, you ready for this? Something like that. And I was just like, oh, man. Yeah. I was like, I want to join. And he was just like, all right, I'm going to help you out. You seem like a good kid. Seem like you want to join. So he did. So he helped me out join. So, you know, I was placed in the program, all this stuff. Coincidentally enough, he ended up like, my coworker was like stationed with this guy in like Japan years later. One of my supervisors was like an airman with this guy. Like, this guy is like connected to a bunch of people that I know throughout my Air Force journey that I meet. And I'm like, my recruiter was this guy. I'm not going to mention his name, but they're like, I know that guy, you know, like I know him, blah, blah. And he ended up being my same career field. So like he sent me like an open mechanical job because I wanted to be a crew chief. And so I went in without a job, and I really, really wanted to be a crew chief, which I think that's not really the line of work for me now, and I don't think I would have liked it. And I ended up, you know, being CE. This guy ended up being CE, all this stuff. So I came back and I was like, yeah, I'm CE too. And he's like, no shit, I am too.
Were you guys the same AFSC?
Yeah. Same thing.
For those of you who are listening who aren't military, or you're from another branch and you don't know what an AFSC is, it stands for an Air Force Specialty Code. And basically that's just our lingo and way of saying, like, what's your career? Were you guys in the same type of career?
Yeah, so kind of, and then, yeah, off I went. And I think I still had some time to join and do the whole college thing. First time I ever was on a plane was to basic training.
How long did you have until you left for basic, though?
I don't know. I know it was like a couple months.
Just a couple? Like, because a couple's 2 to 3 months.
I don't know. It was blur.
Really?
Blur. Enough to my mom was like, it wasn't long enough where I could start another semester, and it was short enough where my mom was like, you need to fucking do something. You need to go work full time or something, get a job in the meantime or something like that.
Because you were still living at home.
Yeah.
And the first time you had ever ridden a plane was to basic training.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on. They sent me with like an envelope and all my documents, and they were just like, yeah, there's going to be people waiting for you here. Pack your whole thing up, you know, and you kind of have to like, you want to go dress somewhat nice or something like that.
Yes.
So you don't want to go with like crazy stuff, wearing like, you know, like a go fuck yourself on the shirt or something, you know, something
Probably
stupid.
not.
Yeah. So, you know, a mohawk or things of that nature, because you're just going to attract a lot of attention to the people over there and stuff like that. So, yeah, first time I ever went, I was just scared, you know, like my little like suitcase going over there. I didn't even know like how to get to a gate or anything like that. You know, I think I checked my gate 10 times, asked 10 different people, you know, because I really didn't want to miss this flight, and that's not how I really wanted to start off my career, and like fucking up already. And I'm like asking random people, I'm like, hey, you know, they gave you this.
You're asking everybody at the fucking gate if it's the gate.
Yeah, like everybody's there. No, I'm like going around the airport looking. They give you a little yellow manila folder, and like you're like, I think that guy's joined the military. And you're like, hey, you joined the Air Force? And like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Where are you going? What does your ticket say? What flight are you on? Like this one? Like, okay, you're on mine. Cool. All right, cool. Sit there, you know, like do it all over again. Hey, you. What plane is this? Where are we going? You know,
You guys didn't like start a community of people. I would have like started a powwow. Like, hey, we need to all congregate like right over here.
not everybody's like scared too. Like,
What?
scared shitless. You know, you're about to hop on a plane in basic training. You don't know who the fuck's watching or what's going on or what's going down. And for me, that's the first time I ever been on a fucking plane. You know, so
I was
like,
ready to write that shit out.
once we were on the plane and I started like networking with other people, I was just like, hey, we're all going to the same place. Like, all right, cool. Yeah, where are you from? I'm from here. Like, okay, cool. You know, like, you're like, all right, cool. I could go to sleep. But I was just so like anxious and nervous.
How did you think basic was going to be? Did you know anything before you left?
I did, but I honestly thought it was going to be a lot more intense. Like, I thought I was going to get hit. You know what I'm saying? I was going to get a little gut punch. Like, you ever seen Full Metal Jacket where he's like...
I have not.
What? What the fuck?
I was listening to somebody at work the other day, and they were like...
God, dude.
They were like... They named off like 4 movies that everybody should see in life. By the way, one of them was Training Day, and the second one was Full Metal Jacket. And I was like, well, I already saw Training Day thanks to Abe, and Full Metal Jacket, well, no.
Good God. We have some homework to do. Anyway, so like there's a scene in Training Day where he's like, he gut punches the kid, right? And then also he's like, everybody's in line, and he's like, get down and choke yourself. When he like starts choking himself with like his own hands, and he's like, not with your own hands, idiot, my hand. And he like has to grab his hand. It's like a whole scene in the movie. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I thought it was gonna be something like that, like just like completely mind fucked. You're like getting kind of beat up, but not like where you're gonna like die or anything. Like you're getting slapped around and shit like that. So I was just like mentally, I was like prepared for that.
Yeah.
Which it was pretty intense, but Army people are gonna laugh at me. I'm like, Air Force boot camp intense, but I mean, yeah, it was a stressful situation. It was definitely high stress situations.
What happened when you guys landed at the airport in San Antonio?
Oh, you know,
do you remember that?
Yeah. They started doing the whole like,
did they come and get you when you're inside?
Oh yeah, they're all waiting there. So like, you're coming out of like the thing, and you're like, haha, I'm there. Like, I'm so happy. Like, yes. You're like, where do I go? And there's like another guy, and they're like, hey, fucking ass forward, get your ass over there. And it's like, whoa, what the fuck? What happened? You know, and this is before they did this in the military, in the Air Force. Boot camp went through this whole revamp, right? Had a lot of like sexual assault charges, crazy things were happening in boot camp pretty much. But so before, now they can't cuss, they can't do stuff like that. But before,
What?
or they can't do like physical. They have to do like physical training with you. They can't watch you do it. Something like that. It's weird.
Okay.
Anyway, they're like, hey, get your ass over here. Fucking get over there. And you're like, whoa, what the fuck, right? And everybody's like, get in line. Don't say shit. Close your fucking mouth. I'm like, good God, I'm just going to close it anyways, like, so you're like standing there and, they're like, you need to learn these basic commands like attention, stuff like that, the basic military commands. And you're standing there like, yeah, pick up your, they'll do the whole, while you're waiting for your bus, they're like, pick up your suitcase. You're like, okay. So you pick it up and they're like, now put it down. I'm like, okay. And they do that shit like 10, 15 times while you're waiting. Like, not fast enough, not fast enough. So they're just like fucking with you the whole time. Finally, the bus driver gets there and he's like, get your asses in here. Fucking blah. You're like, he's like, hurry the fuck up. Everybody's like shouting all crazy and shit. And you're like, what the hell? You're going there, everybody's dead, silent.
You're like, welcome to hell.
You're like, yep, I knew it was going to be like this, right? So mentally I was kind of prepared for that. And then like if anybody's been through basic training and they had this certain bus driver, it's like a bus driver really well known in the Air Force community that takes you to BMT. And he gives you like a motivational speech, pretty much. He's like famous. I forget what his name is, but he's like, gives you this like motivational speech, like gets you in the mindset, tells you like some words of wisdom to send you on your way. You know what I'm saying? He's like, things are gonna get tough. You know what I'm saying? You can't break, shit like that. You're like, oh, okay. You're like inspired, and it's like some of my worst times, some of my best times, stuff like that. So you're like, oh, okay. And then like, he's like, all right, from this point on, you guys gonna have to lock it up, blah, blah. Like, once they get up there, you need to listen to everything these guys say. They're gonna get up. He kind of gives you like a little pep, like, get your shit ready. So we're like, they're gonna hop on this bus. They want you to get off this bus really fast. Listen to everything they say. Don't be that idiot that falls off the bus. Because you're so nervous and you're stumbling all over the place and all this shit.
Oh God.
So, was that you?
No, thank God. I just thought like
that would be you now, huh?
That would be me now, stumbling off the bus.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm going. So the guy's like, all right, so like, and I'll never forget it. Like the bus pulls up, right, and then the doors open up, right. And they fucking storm in there and they have the little hat and they're like, it's raining that day. I went, it was fucking raining to top it off. And they're like, get your ass out of here, fucking get off the bus. So we get off the bus and I made sure to listen to bus driver, hit every step, held the handrail, got off right. Look back. 3 people fucking fall off the bus, boom, 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 start stumbling. They're all wet. They fall into a puddle. You're like, what a fucking idiot. And you're like, thank God that's not me. Cool. Keep pressing. Leave behind. So you're just like, oh God. You're like ramped up. They're fucking with you the whole time. Yeah. And you get there, and you don't eat. You're not sleeping. They just put you in a room, and they're like, take a shower if you want. If not, get your ass to bed. And you're just like, okay. So you get there, and I was so shook that I didn't even shower that night, So
they didn't make you shower?
They gave us the option to shower, like on your own. Like they had gang showers, so like prison showers, pretty much. And I was just so shook that I was just like, nah. Everybody was shook. Nobody used them.
Were you scared?
I was nervous. I don't think I was scared. I was just like, I don't know what to expect. I think I got up because, the sound of Reveille played like that, that whole fucking military song.
Fucking nightmare to me.
And I was just like, went to sleep. When I went to sleep, there's like, everybody's like, oh, what the fuck? Nobody's talking to each other. You're like meeting people around your bunk and shit like that. And you're just like, all right, cool.
Ooh, did you get a bunk bed?
They told me to not get one, so I didn't.
Okay.
Like, I did some research, and they were like, you don't want to get one. Don't get one. It's easier to make your own bed.
So you made sure that you didn't get a bunk bed.
Yeah, but that
Smart.
didn't matter because then they place you where the fuck they want. Like, you don't get to pick. So
We did.
much like everything in the military, not us. They were just like, fucking, you're here, you're here, you're here. That's
Okay.
it. Boom. End of story. Like, move.
And your training was for 8 weeks. Your training was for 8 weeks.
Yeah, 8.5 weeks.
So what was the first day like when you woke up?
Like I said, so they play Reveille, right? Right. And I'm already kind of like up. And there's like a period where you're kind of in processing, right? So I hear it and I'm like, I think we should be up. People are getting up. They're getting ready. I don't know if I should stay sleeping. So I'm just there. And then they bust in, they're like, get the fuck up. They're like flipping beds. And you're like, what the hell is going on?
Were you scared then?
No.
Okay.
I was just like, whoa, I don't want to fuck up. Definitely don't want to fuck up. A lot of anxiety. I had a lot of anxiety. That's the word for it.
You had anxiety.
A lot of anxiety. I was just like, what the fuck? So we get out. They take us out, right? We in process. Anyway, and then the first official day, we're all lined up. And I'll never forget it. This dude, everybody's sitting there nervous, and like the TIs will come by, talk shit to you. They're like, what's your name? You're like, Abe. They're like, no, the fuck it's not. Reporting statement. Oh, you do this whole little like song and dance. And you're like, okay, you give the report. You're like, it's Farias. And they're like, Ferry. You don't look like no fucking bitch to me. You know what I'm saying? So they're like,
At least they complimented you.
Yeah. Well, they didn't mean it like that.
Okay.
I didn't look like a female, you know what I'm saying? So like, they're just like talking shit, the whole time. So
What was the worst thing they said to you?
I'm gonna skull fuck you. I will skull fuck you. I
Wow.
will skull fuck you. And I was just like, whoa. It's intense. Anyway, so, which now you can get in a lot of trouble for saying something like that,
Really?
Yeah. Anyway, so this kid, they started approaching him, and he was like super tall. They started, if you haven't watched Full Metal Jacket, they started calling this kid Gomer Pyle. He was just goofy. He was like 28 years old. He was goofy, really tall. And they're like, you look like Gomer Pyle. Like, same description of Gomer Pyle and off of Full Metal Jacket and everything, right? And they're in his face. Everybody's screaming. They're like barking. They're trying to psych him out because he's a big dude, right? This dude starts pissing his pants, Starts pee starts running down his leg, all this stuff, right? And he starts crying. He's like 28-year-old man. So like, this guy's grown, Piss running down his leg. He's crying. They're like antagonizing this poor guy, and they're like, you just piss yourself. Piss pot. We're gonna call you piss pot. And it was like blood in water, As soon as this kid did this, it's like fucking every TI, every military instructor that's there for boot camp swarmed in. They just swarmed this guy like pack of wolves, and they're just like in this kid's face. Bah! And he's like, until this kid's fucking breaking, it's like pee running down, like the little pad. You can't move. You're just like, I don't want to fucking move. I don't want this piss to touch my shoe, but like, I don't want to move. And then, because all these guys are here, so you're just like, oh shit, things are intense, So yeah, that was my first day.
That was your first day? I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, what did you think with working out? Did you prepare physically before you left? Were you working out?
You know what? Mediocrely. Go do some push-ups and run sometimes. Do sit-ups. That's all I did. It was like a very half-ass attempt.
So,
which when we got there and we started doing push-ups, and then like when you start doing push-ups there, they make you do them until failure, And I'm looking around and people are still doing push-ups, and I'm at failure, and I'm like, damn, I'm fucked. Like, I'm going to have a hard time in boot camp now. Like, and, you know, I'm like struggling to do more, even more push-ups. And the instructor's over me, and he's like, the TI, and he's like, fuck, I keep pushing. And I'm like, I can't, sir. You know, like shaking, like trying to crank him out. It was all bad.
So was there ever a point during
You get strong fast, though.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Was there ever a point that you were like, I'm not physically cut out for this?
Yeah. When I started doing those push-ups, and I did like 15 push-ups and...
Oh, that's bad.
like 20 push-ups, and I was at failure or something like that, 15, 20 push-ups. And they're making us do like flutter kicks for like, you know, a minute, 2 minutes straight. And I'm like, I can't keep up my legs. And I was just like, fuck. It's going to be a rough 8 weeks, but you get it fast. You know, by the end of it, you're like cranking out 60 in a minute, 50 in a minute. So like it comes quick. You develop that when you're doing them every day, every couple hours. Like you get fit pretty quickly.
So the first week is called 0 week, and that's where you're in processing. You're doing all the paperwork to come in.
You're getting screamed at. They're like trying to get you mentally prepared and all that stuff. Yeah.
And then what's the second? Do you remember the second to third week?
I think they shave your head. The first week they shave your head. You get like a uniform, and it's weird because you're rolling around in like civilian gear, just regular clothes. And once you get your first uniform, you're like, ooh.
You feel like somebody, right?
Yeah, you feel like somebody, you know what I'm saying? And they don't give you name tapes to it almost kind of dehumanize you in a way. Like they cut your hair, they cut your identity, they take away your clothes, they give you a uniform without a name, no U.S. Air Force, nothing. I think you get your name tapes and the U.S. Air Force name tapes towards the end. And it's like a very like it goes by like series. So like you get your uniform and you have to wear sneakers, and then like you earn your boots, and then later on you earn your.
That's right. I forgot about the sneakers.
Yeah. So you're running around like a fucking. You look like an asshole. You know what I'm saying? They're like full military fit. You're wearing, and they give you these assigned sneakers. They're like New Balance, ASIC, like. Some nerd ass sneakers, you know what I'm saying? They're not some J's, there's like some Nikes, some nerdy ass like running shoes.
No, those were New Balances, not even Nikes. Well, we had New Balances.
Some people had Asics and stuff like that, but it's just your typical like white running shoe, you know, and you got to roll around with that for a while. So you feel like a fucking loser, you know? And everybody calls you a sneaker weaker, so you feel like stupid, you know?
I do not remember that name.
Yeah. And then finally you get your boots, and you're like, oh, dang, like I get my boots. And then I think you get your, like, actual, like, dress uniform, and, like, shine your shoes, and you do this whole thing, and it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
You don't shine your shoes. We didn't shine our boots.
No, your dress, your blues.
Oh, your blues.
Yes,
okay.
I said your service uniform, your service dress uniform.
Okay, so I can't even, like, my memory is very foggy. So I'm thinking, so it's 8 weeks long, 0 week, 1 to 3 weeks. So what is a day? What are those days like? Once you're done filling out the paperwork, then what? Tell us, like, what?
Just going through like some sort of like basic training. They have tests. They have things that they're showing you, things that you get graded on every day, every moment. So you're
sitting in class.
You have military like history, things of that nature. So you're going through briefs. You're mentally exhausted. Air Force is a lot more like mental stuff. So like you're out there, you're marching, you're learning how to march. You're like going to different appointments with your TI. You're getting yelled at by people. You're going to class, like these briefings and things that you need to learn, and you're learning like Air Force rank structure, things of that nature, things to pretty much prep you of what the Air Force is like it's like stupid stuff. Like, what is a? They ask you like things like, what is a staff sergeant rank look like? How many stripes is that? Or what is an EA? Like these like random military question. Who was the first chief master sergeant of the Air Force? Just like really weird things. When was the Air Force formed? And you got to have the answers ready to go. So you're like studying on your downtime. You're trying to, you're breaking down. They give you a weapon. Or do they give you a weapon? Mm-hmm. They give you a weapon. You're learning how to break down your weapon, put it back together. They're asking you questions about that weapon and
Were you
military
nervous
history.
to break it down?
No, because I'm pretty...
Mechanically inclined?
Yeah, I don't want to say it, but... yeah, mechanical stuff kind of come... They showed us like one time how to do it, and I was like, that's it? I was like, that's super easy.
Yeah, it is fairly simple. So, how often did you get to call home?
So I didn't call home until I was like 3 weeks in, which is like, that was definitely not how it was supposed to go. Like, that was my first phone call home to tell them like, hey, I made it to basic training like 3 weeks later.
You didn't do, so when I went to basic, they made us read off a
We did that.
sheet.
We did it 3 weeks in. So yeah, they gave us a little postcard.
Gave that to you 3 weeks in?
Yeah, our TI later on found out, I think he ended up going to prison.
Oh, okay.
Him and our brother. Yeah, because like he was just doing all these like crazy things, stuff like that. So it's not like that now, but they're like, it was intense. So anyway, he had us like, they have you read off a card. You can't stray away from the card. So your first phone call home, people won't pick up, and then like you finally get through. It's like your mom, hear your mom's voice. You're like, Mom, you start crying. You're like,
oh, you cried?
Hell yeah.
Did you cry every time you called home?
No, but
okay.
Everybody cried. Everybody cried, like it's just bawling. Everybody's bawling,
I'm going to cry.
And you're like, I made it here. Basic training. My address is blah, blah, blah. If you want to hit me. And then they're like, hurry the shit up. You're like, they don't give a fuck. You're crying. Like, hurry the fuck up. Hang up on your mom. Tell them blah, blah, blah. You got 2 seconds ready. All right, hang up now. Or they'll hang up the phone for you, And that's it.
How many times were you allowed to call home?
I called home 3 different times. So that time...
You got 3 phone calls?
Yeah, one time because I earned it. Like, our flight earned it. And then the last time was, like, to tell our parents, like, hey, I'm going to see you tomorrow. I'm going to graduate.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah. Now I think you get, like, a phone call every week or something like that.
And how many times were you allowed to send letters home?
Whenever they let you.
But do you remember how many times they let you?
I don't even remember. I remember I used to try to write letters like every day or something like that, or do something, right? And then I would just wait for them, and I would like send them out in like a big packet, I was almost kind of like, almost to try to keep my sanity. You know what I'm saying? You're just like writing, and you're just trying to keep, trying to pass the time because you don't got TV. You're like so cut off from the world. You're just like in your own little world.
Did any major world events happen while you were in basic?
No.
No?
I don't remember. I just remember thinking like, I remember listening to the radio and I was like, I've never heard this song. Like, it's so weird,
So tell us what Warrior Week is.
You go out for like a field exercise and you're out there. You do obstacle courses. You go like fire, shoot weapons, shoot guns, survival stuff, So you're like out in the field for like a week doing exercises, putting on your gas mask, getting hit with that gas. What is it? They put tear gas tablets, and then they put on their mask, and you got to go through it, and then you got to take off the mask, inhale the tear gas, and like leave, and like give some information. They're shouting at you the whole time. You're doing push-ups and this stuff. So that was like what I was looking forward to, like the shooting and like the obstacle course and the tear gas and all like the cool military stuff that you get to do. So
Okay, so in the obstacle course, at any point in time, did you fall in the water?
So what Courtney is referring to is pretty much like there's like a rope, and at different points of the obstacle course, you got to like cross bodies of water, swinging on a rope. Everybody always, not everybody, a lot of people fall. It's not uncommon for people to fall off the rope, or like they miss it or something like that, and they just fall face first in like the muddy water, and then you still got to complete it, and you got to spend the day in your muddy like uniform. It's uncomfortable, but it's not crazy. Okay, but yeah, no, I didn't fall.
Not even for the leap of faith?
No, didn't fall. Why would I fall?
I don't, because you just said everybody falls, and you're like,
I said
but
it's
not
not
me.
Uncommon for people to fall. Like maybe 1 out of 10 people will fall in the water.
Okay.
That's what I saw. And you kind of see him. You're like, that idiot fell, huh? You're like, he has to spend the day in his muddy fucking uniform. That sucks. Because you don't get to change. They're not like, hey, go change. They're like, hey, fuck off. Now go, like, run a mile. So.
Any other stories that you have from basic? What was it like seeing your family for the first time?
It's weird because they give you, like, these weird instructions where, like, they're like, oh, you're going to become an airman, and, you can't approach them. They can approach you and stuff like that. So it was weird. I was happy. My dad wasn't able to make it, so I had to phone call him, but it was a good time.
Did you cry?
No. I was just really happy.
That a lot. You were just really happy.
Yeah.
What was it like getting your airman's coin? So can you explain to those that are listening that are not military, like
anyway, when you become an airman, they hand you this coin, and it's like, I don't even know where it's at today. It's like thrown in a drawer among like the various coins I've acquired throughout the Air Force or whatever for some sort of achievement or something like that. But this specific one, it's like everybody has this coin. It's the coin to signify you're an airman, and you have your airman's coin. It's like this special, nice coin. Like, I don't know. You get it along with, what do you get? That's it, right? Oh, some ribbons. Do you get some ribbons? No,
Abe.
After.
Well, you do get your ribbons once you graduate. Like, you go through basic training through graduate. Like, once you get your blues and stuff, yes.
Anyway, so, yeah, you give you your coin, and they hand you your coin. They make it this whole thing. It's almost like your diploma from basic training, and it's like a coveted coin, maybe for like the first couple months of your career, and after that, you're like, whatever. But, yeah.
Do you remember what your parents told you?
No. I was just like, can we go get some real food now? Because you're eating like nasty, like basic training food. Can we get some like McDonald's or like, I don't know, something? Can we go out to eat? Can we do something?
And what did you think when you found out? So when you came in, you went open mechanic, which meant that you basically were like, hey, I'm joining the military. I don't have a job. I'm going to take a gamble and see what they give me. And then you found out you were getting CE. And where did they send you for training?
They sent me to Wichita Falls, which is where you're from, coincidentally enough. But
were you pissed that you had to stay in Texas?
Yeah. I didn't really care. I was more concerned about where I was going to go to my next base, because I was only there for 6 months.
That's such a long time.
Yeah, it was a long tech school. And I think I went home for Christmas at one point. I was there so long, like, I went home for Christmas. They gave us like a week of like break. They stopped classes and they were like, hey, come back in like 2 weeks. It was called like Exodus. Mm-hmm. This portion of like, it's now you're at school. You're like studying and like going to class and stuff like that for whatever it is that you need to do in the Air Force. Which at the time I was like super pissed for my career field, because I was like, I don't want to fucking do this shit. And I was like, there must be a mistake. There has to be a mistake. Like, nope, that's your job. And I was like, fuck. I was like, I wanted something like, I don't know, easy. and with the short school. And I was like, now I got to go to school for like 6 months and learn all this stuff and do all these things. And I was like, whatever.
So
I was like, but I'm getting paid, so I was like happy.
what was tech school like? And for those of you who are listening who are not military, tech school is technical training, just like he mentioned.
Yeah,
for your career field.
Yeah, I don't know. I was in Wichita Falls and went to Buffalo Wild Wings a lot. There's like on-base clubs. I think I went to Denim and Diamond. Was that like a little like country bar, right?
Yeah.
Country / hip hop bar. They play a mixture of everything, right?
What was it like realizing I'm free? Like when you got to tech school and you're like, I'm no longer in this like military training environment to where people are like watching your every mood and yelling at you.
You are. You kind of, not like basic, but like for the first couple weeks, you have to like, it's almost like they build it this way because you have to kind of reintegrate back into society because you've been like, you know, in this environment for so long. Like you probably go off the deep end, like coming back into like normal life if they just gave you all your freedoms back instantly. So, you know, you're on curfew, you're on like, you have to check in with people. You have to wear your uniform when you go off base. So I think when I went outside of the base, I was like, you have to get in like your dress uniform and go off, and you feel like a loser because everybody's looking at you. You're just like in your blues, you know, and everybody from Wichita Falls that sees all the military kids, they're like, look at those losers, you know, like.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Yes, we do.
Yes, they do. So, and, you know, whatever.
Were you proud to wear your blues?
At first, and then everybody's looking at you like, look at those losers. You know, like you stick out like a sore thumb. You're like out on the town with like your military uniform. So you're like, what the fuck, dude? And you got to take buses and taxis and stuff like that. So, and people that work on base are like teachers or something like that, you know. If they see you kind of get out of line in your military uniform, they'll like come up to you and be like, what school are you in? What's your name? And like they'll report you, you know. So like, you gotta like be in line. But then soon after like a week or two that goes by, and like then you get a longer curfew. You can like check in at 5 a.m, I think at the latest, or something like that, right? You can wear regular clothes off base and go where you want to, and like things of that nature, and it just goes back to normal life. You're just going to school at that point.
You're going to school.
Yeah.
And how was that school compared to college?
I had more to lose, you know what I'm saying? I was like studying every night. I didn't want to fail because pretty much when you're going to tech school, if you fail a test, I think 2 tests within that 6-month period, one, and then they give you like a retake, you get kicked out. And then you get like either forced into another career field or just kicked out of the military entirely. They're just like, you didn't make it. So, sorry, buddy. Go back home.
You were scared of getting washed back.
Yeah.
Or washed, they call it washed out.
Washed out, yeah.
And then you went there for 6 months and you're in Texas. What did you think when you got McGuire as your first duty station? And tell us where McGuire is.
That's in New Jersey. So once I got New Jersey, I was like, where is New Jersey? I don't even know. Like, where is this place? I had to look it up. So I was just like, Jesus Christ, you know. Saw it was below New York, and there was like our school. We went to like with like Navy, Marines, and Army. It was like a combined school, and we just stayed there longer for like more school. Pretty much, they went for like 1, 2, 3 weeks, and then I think Navy stayed a little bit long. Like they did half our school, and then we finished it up with the whole school. Anyway, so this Navy girl was like, I know where that's at, you know, that's so dope. You're gonna go to New York, concerts, love New York, all this stuff. And I was like, oh, it's by New York. Sweet. So researched it, and I was like, okay, this is cool. And I had friends around me it was like they were getting sent to Germany, Italy, Japan. And then some people were getting sent to like Kansas, and I was like, I think my bunkmate got sent to North Carolina, and I was like, I don't even know where the fuck that's at. I never even heard of North Carolina, so it's just like, I don't even know where on the map that is. All I know is like California and like Texas and maybe Washington, and Florida. And that's it. Like every other state is kind of irrelevant. So.
And then you graduated.
Or in Nevada, because it borders us. But
yeah. And so you graduated, no issues. Were you like top of your class? Did you get any of those? Like distinguished grad? Did they even have that in tech school? I don't even remember.
Yeah, they do. They do. But like everybody's doing really well. Everybody's taking it really serious because nobody wants to get washed back.
Yeah.
So everybody's like on their A game. So at least in my class they were. So yeah.
And then you got to your first duty station. And I think that's where we should end today's episode and come back for more later.
Yeah.
We've been running for a long time now.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah.
Episode.
Wrap it up.
And you guys, check back for us for the rest of Abe's Air Force story. We hope you guys have a great week. Check us out on Instagram if you're not already following us at the Collective Journey Podcast. Follow Abe Farias. Follow me at CocoBella68. Don't forget to share us with your friends. If you like this episode, screenshot it, add it to your Instagram, tag us, and we'll catch you guys next week. Abe and Courtney signing out. All right, guys. Thanks for listening.